Shion, Shidane Lan E, Ale Chunale E, Ugunwiyu He, Shudali the Gaye, Shantan, Takutan, Ani Ikayi, Charaki, Ayekli, Uto Tlansan, Ani Shudali the Gaye, Shatan, Ani Shudali de Kana Shatan, Ani Takatan, Tokan, Tutatan, Ani Tali Diona, Escoli, Ani Kikake, Kanake, Kaloneda, down the Wawa, Ana Rii, Ani Nanehiya, Ani Yon We, Ani Kutani, Ani Katuwagi, Ani Nanyunui, Adi Lanasti, Kohiki, Chike San, Ugunwiyu Higalukoki, Tikaye Shatan. First and foremost, before I begin this lesson, I want to give thanks to the Supreme. Kalanquoto ti, Unetlana He. Kalanquoto ti, Kalan Lan ti Ahi. Giving thanks to the Creator and the Supreme, He who sits above us, the Breath Master. But yeah, off top though, man, yada da, man. You already know what time it is, man. Straight up and down, left and right, man. It's the Mound Builder Yogi, man. Yogi Mound Builder, man. Yeah, and our word for yogi is Disha Kwan Unali Gohi. That last part, Gohi, is the word yogi. And as you know, our polysynthetic language is so long, man. Longer than a brontosaurus neck, man. It be, you understand me? Words be sentences and stuff like that. But yeah, man, I'm the Yogi Mound Builder, man, for those that know, man. You understand me, man? Cause I've been tapped in and I ain't tapping out, man, on this yogi stuff, man. And this mound builder science, man. This culture, what we live, man, it's in our bloodline. But today though, bruh, I'm at y'all helmets though, man. I'm tap dancing on sombreros, man. You feel me, man? Just going in on this one of our legendary hereditary chiefs, Chief Seven Fingers. Which is what I was mentioning in the beginning when I said Kohiki Chike-san, which is what we say to an ancestor who lived long ago. Say Kohiki Chike-san, Ugonwiyuhi, that means chief. Then I said Galakogi, the Gaye Shatan, which means seven fingers. Long ago, Chief Seven Fingers, right? Which, by the way, is documented. That's no freestyle. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna start reading, right? Straight from the Myths of the Cherokee again, page 539 by James Mooney. A mythical giant and ruler of the game. The name has been corrupted to Judakula and Kula. Judakula Rock and Judakula Old Fields about the head of Tuskegee River in Jackson, North Carolina, take their name from him. And we have actual archaeology to actually, validate the story. Here, what you're looking at is what's known as Judakula Rock. And as you know, that name Judakula is a corruption, in fact, of our mound builder race name, right? Tlvni Kula, Tlvni Kula, right? I'll get into that a little later. But this stone right here, which I found out, which is a soapstone, has over 1,500 etchings on it. And if you look at the bottom right part of the corner, you see the 7-digit hand. And according to folk legend, he used to jump off this mountaintop and land, and his hand scratched that. Which, you can take that for a grain of sand. But more importantly, his 7-digit hand is etched in stone, right? But let's pull out our large luggages and do some unpacking, right, on who Judakula was, right? So on the same page that I referenced from in the same book, we read, Judakula Old Fields, a bald spot of perhaps 100 acres on the slope of Tennessee Bald, right? Zul Kalu, right? Junain Gan Yi. But hold on, before I continue reading, um, I underlined in red slope for a reason because there's a claim that Tlvni Kula is referring to the slanted eyes, but that's folk etymology. But the very word Kalu, which I'm gonna get into later, which means slope, and but let's continue to read. Um, at the extreme head of Tuskegee River in Jackson County, on the ridge from which the lines of Haywood, Jackson, and Transylvania counties diverge, the giant Zul'Kalu, or Judakula, as the name is corrupted by the whites, had his residence in the mountain. And, according to local legend among whites, said to be derived from the Indians, this bald spot was a clearing which made for a farm. So basically, the giant had cleared all that out, right? But it's real interesting when you get into this Judakula rock, which shows a 7-digit, because this is actually an ancestor, a hereditary chief that we like real hard body claiming, like in census records and various documents, right? And to further solve this case, we zoom in on the word Jewel Kalu, right? Or Judakula, which James Mooney is directly acknowledging or contending that the word Judakula is a corruption of Jewel Kalu. And Jewel Kalu is a variation of Junil Kalu or Tlvni Kalu, right? So when we look at who Zul Kalu was, or Jewel Kalu, he was acknowledged as what? The devil. Uh-oh, right? And then what do we see when we study the documents dealing with the Melungians, who are direct descendants of the Moonite people? They claim to be the unholy offspring of the devil and a Cherokee woman in Tennessee. See, when they say the devil, they're talking about Jewel Kalu. See how that works? And keep in mind, it's a Cherokee woman in Tennessee. Where did Jewel Kalu live? In Tennessee Bald. See? Now, what's interesting, to further linguistically demonstrate this argument, we look to what James Mooney is suggesting or contending when he's defining Zul Kalu, where he says literally he has them slanting or leaning up against something. Then he also goes as far as saying that the TS, the ja, is used as a pluralizer on this word, right? But let's focus on this leaning up against something. Why? Well, in order to prove and demonstrate that Jewel Kalu means slanting eyes, we have to look up the word slant in eyes in Cherokee. And when we look up these words, no relation, no form or meaning of the related words are found to match Zul Kalu. But what do we have that is associated with the other claims dealing with the slope or leaning up against something? Well, it just so happened that Zul Kalu lived on a slope. And then when we look up the word slope, bam, Kanalu Thong E and Kanalushkan, meaning uphill, henceforth hill, uphill, slope, Jewel Kalu lived on the slope. But when we carefully analyze this word Kalu, which other variant is Kula, Kalu is an agglutination of Kanaluthon. And so Kanaluthon, they basically took the word out, na, and it became Kalu instead of Kanalu. Now, why is that? Because Native American languages are agglutinative languages, right? Basically, a language which is polysynthetic, big as sentences, where words are conflated, joined together. And that's how, in many words, in many dialects, they can be shortened. So let's put this all together, though, man, like a jigsaw puzzle or a Lego set, man. You understand me? God damn it, me, man. So basically, we were known as Jaraki, right? And that means mountain, right? And what was on these mountains, man? Caves, man. And we was what? We was posted up like a wet food stand, man, on them slopes, man. You understand me? Pushing back all the, you feel me, five-fingered midget Indians, man, by our stone walls, man. So we was known as the slope people, man. You feel me, man? So yeah, the slope. That's why. So we was on slopes and posted up. So the whole, slanted eye, we can kind of dismiss that, man, with the evidence though. So, I'm still critiquing James Mooney, right? And I say that in all fairness, right? But however, the investigation is not entirely over, right? Because even though we broken down Kanalu Thong, which became Kalu, what about Tlvni or Juni, right? So we can actually look up and actually find a definition for it, right? Juni Yonwi. And in fact, that is a principal word that was referring to giants, right? And I actually found out some other deeper stuff that's mind blowing. I might have to make a whole nother video on it, you feel me? But yeah, the word Tlvni or Juni is referring to giants, and we can actually confirm that by looking into other traditions of where people who identified giants, such as the stone giants, who were known as Tlvni Hyarhin, right? And it's said also as Ontne Yarhe, which is another variant of Thane or Tlani or Juni, right? But let's go back into Charaki, our Cherokee traditions. What do we say about the giants, right? So here we go. Page 391. Now, this is the legends that's known as the giants from the west, right? And we read, James Wafford of the Western Cherokee, who was born in Georgia in 1806, says that his grandmother, who must have been born about the middle of the last century, told him that she had heard from the old people that long before her time, a party of giants had come once to visit the Cherokees. They were nearly twice as tall as common men and had their eyes set slanting in their heads, so that the Cherokees called them Junil Kalu, the slant-eyed people, because they looked like the giant hunter Jewel Kalu. Now let's pause for a minute and unpack this, because clearly when it states so that the Cherokees called them Junil Kalu, the slant-eyed people, because they look like the giant hunter Jewel Kalu. This is clearly distinguishing these giants, meaning that there was a giant who lived in the South among the Cherokees, and that these other giant people who came from the West, they resembled the same giant enough to be called and identified the same, right? But let me continue to read. It says, they said that these giants lived very far away in the direction in which the sun goes down. The Cherokee received them as friends, and they stayed some time and then returned to their home in the West. The story must be a distorted historical tradition. Yes, I would agree, because of the generalized definition of the slanted eye. But there are other things that we should take and consider as evidence, right? Such as the fact that they were twice as tall as Cherokees, right? Let me say it again. They were twice as tall as Cherokees. They were giants named after Tsul, Kalu, and they was from the far west. See, this is not just a story. It's also telling you genealogy, right? Right? Now let's back this up, right? Let's give this legs to stand on, right? Let's go far west. And what do we have here? In Cedar Point, Utah, we have a 7-digit hand. Well, let's be fair. Let's say that's like a plant or something, or some type of effigy that we can't define that looks like a 7-digit hand, even though the bottom part shows it's thicker, looks like a thumb, right? So we don't want to do lookology, but I would argue that's a 7-digit hand. But let's go further deeper in the west. Let's go to where I'm from, California, man. Let's go to the coastal rock art, right? Little petroglyph cannon. What do we see? We see a man with 6 toes, clearly. But wait, you was just talking about 7 digits. 7 digits wasn't even my argument. I'm trying to go into the fact that we was giants, right? Clearly we see 6 toes on each foot, and he has a bow and arrow, and he's worn with a smaller Indian. So let's take this a little further. Let's zoom in, right? I had to scale this up just to give you some measurements to prove that even out west, even in the petroglyphs, we're shown twice the size, validating the oral traditions, right? And it don't stop there. Why? Well, it simultaneously demonstrates that we are the original aboriginal old settlers from California. We was the first on the west coast, man, in the Four Corners, man. They called us Anunnaki. We was the ant people, right? But we was giants, right? And that we have a cross-country genealogy, right? But let's go back. Let's go back to the Iroquoian tradition. They went into the what? The stone giants. They were what? Let's read. The stone coats are described as being about twice as tall as humans, with their bodies covered in rock-hard scales that repel all normal weapons, right? So clearly, even our cousins who became the stone giants, I'll get into that a whole nother video, man, but they still count as Cherokee to me. But they was known as the cannibal giants, right? But they were twice as tall. They are rendered the same name that we were named, Tlvni, Tlvni, Chuni, right? And we have a story dealing with the giants that went far out west, and they were still twice as tall as described. Man, I'm gonna stop talking, bro. This is a layup, man. This too easy, bro. This a breeze in the park, man. You understand me? But don't you ever in your life say that this stuff made up that I'm talking about, man. Ever. We got archaeological artifacts, man, and it's gonna get deeper, man. I'm on y'all helmets, man. I'm 6 toes stepping on y'all fast, though, man, and I'm out.